Gordon Ramsay turned 59 this month, but something strange happened at his birthday party. The man who built an empire screaming at chefs sat alone at a table set for dozens. His family wasn't there, his celebrity friends didn't come. Even his own restaurant staff made excuses. In 2010, he discovered his father-in-law had been stealing millions and hiding a secret family for 30 years. That betrayal broke something inside him. Now, people whisper about why Gordon's closest relationships keep falling apart. What really happened in his kitchen empire that made everyone walk away? In November 1966, in the small Scottish town of Johnstone, a boy named Gordon James Ramsay was born into a world already filled with struggle. His mother, Helen, worked tirelessly as a nurse, while his father, Gordon Sr., bounced between jobs, never holding on to any for long. He also carried a dangerous drinking habit that would haunt the family for decades. By the time Gordon turned 5 in 1971, they had already moved several times, living in government housing where rent was cheap and walls were thin. His mother worked 3 jobs to feed the family, often serving them powdered milk that Gordon would later describe as tasting like the dregs of the dishwasher. That sour taste, to him, became the flavor of his childhood. In 1975, when Gordon was 9, the family packed their few belongings and crossed into England, hoping for a clean start in Stratford-upon-Avon. But what waited for them wasn't peace. His father's drinking grew worse, turning him into a violent man who destroyed anything connected to love. Once, in a drunken rage, he smashed every gift Gordon and his siblings had ever given their mother. Another time, he beat Helen so badly, she needed 57 stitches to close the wounds on her face. Even pregnancy didn't protect her. When she was 7 months along with Gordon's younger sister Yvonne, he beat her again. By the time Gordon was 12, he was taller and stronger than his father, but still felt helpless. He could only watch as his mother suffered. They never stayed in one place for long. Between 1975 and his teenage years, the Ramsays moved through 15 different homes across England, each move forced by eviction, debt, or another one of his father's failures. Gordon later said they were hopelessly itinerant, always packing, always leaving, never belonging anywhere. Police came to the house many times. Sometimes they arrested his father, other times they took Helen to the hospital and sent the children, Diane, Ronnie, Yvonne, and Gordon, to stay in shelters or children's homes. At school, the humiliation followed them. They got free meal vouchers that forced them to stand in a separate lunch line, a small but painful reminder that they were poor and different. Through it all, Diane, the oldest sibling, became Gordon's shield. She was born in 1965 and carried a strength far beyond her years. She comforted her brothers and sister when their mother was bleeding in hospital beds. She protected them when their father's shouting filled the night. Later, Diane would say that their father convinced them the violence was their fault, that if they behaved better, their mother wouldn't get hurt. Fear and guilt kept them quiet for years. In 1982, when Gordon was 16, he finally left home. He moved into a small flat in Banbury with Diane. The two of them survived together, working small jobs just to pay rent and eat. Diane worked in a care home and waited tables. Gordon washed dishes at the Indian restaurant where she worked, earning £2.50 an hour. They lived simply, but at least they were free. The scars of their father's cruelty ran deep. He wasn't just violent, he was also unfaithful. He cheated on Helen for years, humiliating her in front of the family. When Gordon was 12 or 13, his father's drinking had become uncontrollable. He was arrested multiple times for assault and drunk driving. Once, during a swimming lesson, he held young Gordon's head underwater, until he almost passed out. It was a lesson given in terror. Diane also suffered from his abuse, often forced to perform in his band just to please him. After 20 years of torment, Helen finally took her children and escaped to a women's refuge in Somerset. They stayed there 9 months, starting over with nothing but each other. Football became Gordon's escape. In 1980, at 14, Oxford United spotted him during a school match. He trained 5 days a week, dreaming of a professional career. But home was still chaos. That same year, his father attacked his mother again, breaking her ribs and bruising her face. Gordon would go to training with marks on his body, pretending they came from rough tackles. He never told anyone the truth. In 1981, when his father drunkenly threatened him with a kitchen knife, Gordon finally decided to leave for good. At 16, he was living alone with Diane, working nights, training at dawn, and paying $35 a week in rent. He barely slept, but for the first time, he felt peace. In 1984, his dream reached its peak when Rangers FC invited him to a youth trial. It was the chance of a lifetime. But during a match that March, everything ended. A brutal tackle tore his right knee apart, his anterior cruciate ligament and meniscus both gone. Surgeons told him he'd never play again. He was just 18. Weeks earlier, Rangers had been preparing to offer him $180 a week. Now, he was lying in a hospital bed, his dream destroyed, fighting depression and confusion. But he didn't give up. In September 1984, he enrolled at North Oxfordshire Technical College to study hotel management. A few months later, another blow hit, this time in the kitchen. In early 1985, a food poisoning outbreak at the college sickened 47 students and 3 teachers. Contaminated water, rotten ingredients, and months of neglect had caused it. Gordon was among the hospitalized, losing 12 pounds in 5 days. Instead of quitting, he became obsessed with cleanliness and kitchen discipline. The incident burned into him a lifelong rule: no excuses, no filth, no shortcuts. In 1986, Gordon's father died of liver failure at just 53. After more than 20 arrests, countless fights, and years of chaos, it ended with a ruined liver and cirrhosis covering 85% of it. Doctors estimated he had been drinking 140 units of alcohol a week for over 15 years. Gordon went to the funeral, but didn't cry. He said he felt nothing, just relief. For him, it was closure. He didn't speak, didn't give a eulogy, but he paid for the costs and helped his mother afterward. The man who had taught him pain had finally disappeared, leaving behind a vow in Gordon's heart. He would never drink like that, ever. In 1987, at 21, Gordon walked into Harvey's restaurant in London to train under Marco Pierre White. He expected mentorship, but walked into a storm. White was cruel and brilliant. Gordon worked 18-hour days for $60 a week, peeling potatoes and cleaning fish while enduring constant insults. Once, White threw hot risotto at his chest. Gordon cried at night, but didn't quit. He learned speed, precision, and perfection. He also learned what kind of leader he didn't want to become. After a year, he moved to Roxton House Hotel, thinking life would calm down. It didn't. He found rotting fish and sloppy work. He took notes on everything, 17 pages of failures, and when the owner refused to fire the head chef, Gordon walked out mid-service on June 15, 1988, leaving his uniform behind. It was his first act of defiance for standards. Later that year, he joined Albert Roux's Waterside Inn, one of the world's top restaurants. The pressure there made Harvey's look easy. Each dish had to be perfect to the millimeter. One mistake could cost $100. On March 23, 1989, a fire broke out in the kitchen. Flames spread across the ceiling. Gordon grabbed an extinguisher and put it out in 90 seconds. His eyebrows singed off, his arms burned. Rue gave him a $200 bonus, but fined him $50 that same night for overcooking a beef Wellington. Gordon didn't argue. He just kept working. That year, he moved to Le Gavroche under Michel Roux Jr., learning the science of cooking. Sous vide at 63 degrees, molecular gastronomy, precision beyond reason. But his temper clashed with everyone. One night, he caught a dishwasher stealing $80 worth of truffles and punched him, breaking the man's jaw. The restaurant paid the bills, but Gordon nearly lost his job. Roux gave him a final warning. By 1991, at 25, Gordon entered the National Chef of the Year competition and won, beating 200 chefs with a dish of seared foie gras and truffle juice. Marco Pierre White called him the future of British cuisine. For a while, they were close again until 1993, when everything exploded. During a busy Saturday night at Harvey's, Gordon lost control. He shouted at Marco, threw a pan, and stormed out. Marco fired him the next morning by phone, calling him insubordinate. Gordon was crushed. He had idolized him. But that pain became fuel. 5 years later, in 1998, Gordon opened his own restaurant and earned a Michelin star in 6 months, faster than Marco ever had. In September 1993, Gordon Ramsay was 27 years old and walking into a sinking little restaurant in Chelsea called Aubergine. It was losing $10,000 a month. The food was forgettable, the tables half empty, and no critic cared if it lived or died. But Gordon saw a chance. The owners, Claudio Pulza and Antonio Lotto, offered him something rare: the head chef position and 25% equity. The place only sat 50 people, but he took the gamble. He threw out the old menu and replaced it with a bold 8-course tasting menu priced at $45 per person, filled with dishes like Scottish venison with elderberry reduction and roasted grouse with juniper berries. Every morning at 5 a.m., he went to Smithfield Market to handpick the best ingredients, spending $3,000 a week just on produce. In 3 months, he had turned it around. Where 20 people used to dine, now 45 came in nightly. Food critics started whispering about the young chef with wild ambition and a temper that could split the sky. By 1994, he had made the kitchen his battlefield. 12 out of 15 kitchen staff were gone. He called it a purge. The last straw was a sous chef reusing oil from fried scraps. Gordon fired him on the spot and enforced a new rule: zero tolerance. Every prep time, every portion, every gram had to be recorded. Waste dropped by 40%, saving $800 a week. Prep time was slashed from 6 hours to 3.5. Gordon checked every single plate before it left the pass. He'd send food back 7 or 8 times until it was perfect. One day, a commis chef peeled 50 pounds of potatoes. Gordon made him do it all again because they weren't uniform. The staff turnover hit 200%, but the few who stayed became some of the most skilled chefs in London. On January 23, 1995, Aubergine earned its first Michelin star. Gordon was only 28. He was the youngest British chef to win one since Marco Pierre White. One dish that stood out was a warm salad of langoustines with vanilla oil priced at $18. Another was seared foie gras with caramelized mango. But success didn't calm him. It set him on fire. 2 months later, in March, a press dinner with 15 critics turned explosive when a server dropped a $60 turbot. Gordon smashed a plate against the wall and screamed in front of them all. The Evening Standard wrote that his food was brilliant, but his anger was terrifying. The outburst made front-page news. Bookings shot up by 30%. People came not just for the food now, they came to see the fire. Behind the scenes, Gordon was fighting with the owners over expansion plans. He wanted full control, and the cracks were starting to show. By December 1996, he had been with Tana Hutchison for 4 years. She was 21 when they met in 1992 at her father's pub in Wandsworth. They got married that winter. But Gordon was never home. He worked 100 hours a week, arriving at 6 a.m. and leaving after midnight 6 days a week. He missed every honeymoon meeting. Tana threatened to call it off in August. Gordon admitted it later. He had chosen work over his own wife. Still, that year, Aubergine pulled in $2 million. The average dinner bill was $75. Bookings were full 8 weeks in advance. With just 22 staff, they served 250 covers a week. It became one of the most profitable fine dining spots per square foot in London. In February 1997, Aubergine earned its second Michelin star. Only 19 restaurants in Britain had 2. Gordon's signature dishes had reached a new level. Pressed duck with beetroot that took 14 steps to make, chocolate fondant with pistachio ice cream. But behind the perfection was betrayal. That June, Gordon found out the owners had been stealing. They were skimming 15% of the profits, about $45,000 a year, using fake supplier invoices. On July 14th, during a screaming match in the office, Gordon quit on the spot. He walked out of Aubergine and took his entire brigade with him. 7 chefs followed him out the door that day. A brutal legal war began. He lost the rights to the name Aubergine, but he kept his recipes. And 3 months later, he started again. On September 17, 1998, he opened restaurant Gordon Ramsay on Royal Hospital Road with a massive $600,000 loan hanging over his head. He was gambling everything. The menu started with hand-dived scallops. 3 years later, in 2001, he made history. The restaurant got 3 Michelin stars. He was 35. He became the first Scottish chef to ever win 3 stars, and the first outside the Roux brothers' empire in London to reach that level. The pressure had turned him into a legend. That same year, he opened Petrus in Knightsbridge. It quickly earned a star, but in 2003, he lost it. The inspectors said it lacked creativity. Ramsay was spread too thin. His TV appearances had cost him. He admitted he cried. Losing a star, he said, was like losing a girlfriend. In 2004, he overhauled the menu. Dishes like turbot with caviar brought the star back. By 2007, Petrus had 2. Gordon now had 10 Michelin stars across his empire. But he had learned something. Fame could kill focus. By 2006, Gordon had restaurants in New York, Dubai, and across London. The London and New York opened with a $7 million investment. But in 2008, the empire was shaken. A theft ring stole $46,000 worth of silverware from his restaurants. Dishwashers and staff he trusted were involved. He fired people after polygraph tests, the first time a top chef ever used lie detectors in the kitchen. The scandal exposed what happens when a business grows too fast. You stop knowing who's standing beside you. The global recession hit hard in 2008 and 2009. 3 UK locations closed, including La Noisette. Profits collapsed 90%, from $3.05 million to $383,325. Net debt soared to $9.48 million. VAT, tax, and pay bills piled up to $8 million. Gordon personally guaranteed $3 million and poured in $5 million more with his father-in-law, Chris Hutchison. He even sold his Ferrari. The expansion had been too aggressive. Now he was drowning in debt and clinging to survival. By 2015, Gordon was 49 and had learned his lesson. His company was earning $50 million in revenue, but he was ruthless now. He closed 8 underperforming restaurants. He said they were soul-destroying. He focused instead on quality. Bread Street Kitchen became his new pride, serving 500 covers daily by 2016. It cost $3 million to build near St. Paul's Cathedral. It worked so well, he opened it in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Dubai. He wasn't just a chef anymore. He was a businessman who had nearly lost it all, then figured out how to come back smarter. In February 1999, the public got to see who Gordon really was. Channel 4 aired Boiling Point, a 5-part documentary following him for 8 months, leading to the opening of restaurant Gordon Ramsay. Viewers saw everything: the screaming, the breakdowns, the drive. He fired a waiter for sipping water during service. He cooked at Versailles during the closing of the World Cup in July 1998. The series made him famous. It also revealed the monster and the genius inside him. More TV followed. On April 26, 2004, Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares premiered in the UK. The first episode showed a clueless 21-year-old head chef named Tim trying to cook fine dining with no customers and no clue. Gordon tore the place apart. He later sued the Evening Standard for calling it fake and won $138,000 in damages. The world learned something then. When Gordon showed up, it wasn't an act. In May 2013, the Amy's Baking Company disaster in Arizona became his most shocking episode. For the first time, Gordon walked out. The owners yelled at customers, kept all the tips, and refused to admit any fault. He said, "I can't help people who can't help themselves," and left. Cameras rolled as the crew packed up. The internet exploded. In 2007, Gordon got sued by Martin Hyde from Dillon's in Manhattan. He demanded $8 million, claiming Gordon used fake scenes and hired actors. The episode showed rats, spoiled food, and chaos. Hyde said he was blamed unfairly. Gordon called the accusations a joke. In 2011, Oceana Grill in New Orleans sued him twice. Once before the episode aired, worried about the footage. They settled. Then again in 2018, after a scene was reposted without the required update. That clip vanished from the internet, and the episode became almost impossible to find. On Hell's Kitchen, things got even darker. In 2004, he shoved a contestant who sprained an ankle. Granada paid $124,000 to settle. In 2005, Michael Ray won the show while addicted to painkillers. He refused Gordon's offer to train in London. His life spiraled into homelessness, but he eventually entered recovery and started helping others through food. In 2010, Holly Ugalde won, but never got her prize job in London. She said the visa paperwork was never even filed. Others came forward saying they were promised jobs, but only got cash and photo ops. One winner said she felt like paid talent instead of a chef. Jen Rivak from Season 3 said she was locked in a hotel room for days before filming. No books, no phone, no music. She said it felt like prison. She barely slept more than 5 hours a night during the show. Another contestant said she was so stressed, her period stopped for 6 weeks. Contestants broke down. Some felt suicidal. All of it made for great television. In the early 1990s, Gordon Ramsay was rising fast. He was fiery, driven, loud, and ready to take over the kitchen world. But long before the Michelin stars and TV shows, he was a 27-year-old caught drunk in a men's bathroom at Green Park Station, arrested for gross indecency with 2 other chefs. It was 1993. He didn't fight it. He accepted a police caution and walked away. But the shadow of that night followed him. When a reporter asked about it 20 years later, he hung up the phone. His team brushed it off as just drunken horseplay, but he never spoke about it again. Almost 10 years later, in 2002, he was in trouble again. This time, it was for drunk driving. Caught going the wrong way down a one-way street in central London, Gordon failed the breath test and was taken in. But he walked free. The police hadn't offered him a required blood test, and his lawyers seized that mistake. The case vanished. But his public image had already taken a hit. The man who preached discipline was starting to look like a contradiction. That gap between his words and his actions would grow wider. In April 2009, an undercover report by The Sun revealed that Gordon's high-end gastropubs weren't serving freshly cooked meals. Signature dishes like coq au vin and fish cakes were being made in bulk at an off-site facility called GR Logistics, vacuum-sealed, frozen, and reheated at the restaurants, then sold to diners at a 586% markup. Critics were stunned. Gordon had spent years yelling at other chefs for doing the same thing on his own show. Now he was doing it quietly, behind closed kitchen doors. The scandals kept coming. In November 2008, his marriage was hit hard when news broke of a 7-year affair with Sarah Simons. She called herself a professional mistress and had written a guidebook for cheating. Tabloids caught Gordon leaving her hotel suite. They said he'd been there for 75 minutes. She had just bought 3 bottles of amyl nitrate from an adult shop nearby. Gordon denied the long-term affair, saying he knew her, but that it was complete crap. Tana, his wife, stayed. They renewed their vows in 2014. But the damage lingered. Trust was never the same. Then came the collapse inside his own business. In 2010, Gordon discovered that his father-in-law, Chris Hutchison, had been secretly funneling money from Gordon Ramsay Holdings. Not just for himself, for mistresses. For an entirely separate second family he'd kept hidden for 30 years. Gordon fired him, hired a private investigator, got photos, tried to keep control. But Chris struck back. Between 2010 and 2011, he and his sons hacked into Gordon's computer over 2,000 times, trying to find out what he knew. In 2012, it ended in court. Gordon paid $2 million to settle it. But in 2017, justice came back around. Chris was sentenced to 6 months in jail. His sons got suspended sentences. The betrayal had cut straight through Gordon's home and business. Still, Gordon kept moving. He was building more shows, opening more restaurants, stepping into every corner of culinary television. But controversy followed. In 2009, on Channel 4's The F Word, he raised 200 chickens in his own garden to teach his children about food sourcing. The series had already shown turkeys and pigs being raised and slaughtered. Animal welfare groups filed complaints. PETA slammed him. They said he was cruel, that his foie gras dishes and praise of horse meat were disgraceful. He brushed it off. He wasn't interested in what they thought. In 2012, he launched Gordon Behind Bars, a series filmed over 6 months at Brixton Prison. He taught 12 inmates to bake lemon treacle tarts under the brand Bad Boys Bakery. They later changed the tarts into slices so they were easier to sell. Cafe Nero agreed to stock them in 11 South London locations. By 2017, the bakery was in 15 stores with plans for 190 more. Some prisoners turned their lives around. A few even tried out for jobs at Gordon's Savoy restaurant. But inside the prison, the filming wasn't easy. Ramsay had to break up real fights. His wife made him take self-defense classes. The cameras captured the hope, but they also captured the danger. Then came 24 Hours to Hell and Back, launched in 2018. He drove a 70-foot-long mobile kitchen called Hell on Wheels across America. Each episode began with him in disguise, wearing full prosthetic makeup, walking into failing restaurants to catch them off guard. The crew filmed mold, rotting food, and cockroaches. Then Ramsay revealed himself, yelled, cleaned house, redesigned the place, and trained the staff, all in just one day. It looked dramatic. It was dramatic. But some owners hated the pressure. The format felt rushed. Some said the fix didn't last. Still, It pulled in up to 3.67 million viewers during Season 1. By 2022, he launched Next Level Chef. It wasn't just another contest. It was a giant, moving three-tiered kitchen stacked like a tower. The best ingredients were at the top, the worst at the bottom. Platforms moved up and down between rounds. Contestants had seconds to grab their ingredients. Raw chicken slipped through grates. Meat fell to the basement. The pressure was real. So were the bruises. Viewers couldn't look away. Ramsay judged from above, his voice booming between floors. In 2023, he launched Food Stars. This time it wasn't just cooking, it was business. 15 food entrepreneurs competed for his personal investment of $250,000. Ramsay wasn't just a judge, he was the only investor. The show tested branding, marketing, and survival in the real world. In the UK version, he surprised everyone by saying veganism was his favorite subject. On TikTok, he even praised plant-based dishes, though PETA still didn't buy it. He now had 4 primetime shows running at once on Fox: Hell's Kitchen, MasterChef, Next Level Chef, and Food Stars. No other chef had ever done that. But through all the shows, all the noise, his real life kept moving. His daughter Megan was born May 16, 1998. She trained in his kitchen at 16. His twins, Holly and Jack, arrived December 31, 1999 through IVF, born premature at just 32 weeks. Jack joined the Royal Marines in 2020. By 2022, he was on secret missions in Norway, completely offline. Holly became a social media creator and, in 2024, got engaged to Olympic swimmer Adam Peaty. 2 kids from the same womb. One in combat gear, one in the spotlight. In 2021, Tilly Ramsay joined Strictly Come Dancing. She was 19, bright and hopeful. But a 67-year-old radio host named Steve Allen called her a chubby little thing. On air, he said she couldn't dance and blamed her dad's cooking. The backlash was fierce. Ofcom got 840 complaints. Tilly fired back, saying she was tired of being body-shamed. Gordon backed her up, proudly, loudly. And then came Oscar. Born April 4, 2019, at 12:58 p.m. After 3 BAFTAs and 1 Emmy, Gordon joked, "We finally won an Oscar." But it hadn't been easy. In June 2016, Tana had lost a baby at 5 months pregnant. Gordon had announced the pregnancy on The Late Late Show. He joked nervously about having 4 girls and 4 weddings. But when the miscarriage happened, everything stopped. They were broken. Slowly, they healed. Gordon cut his work schedule back to 60 hours a week. He called his kids in London at midnight LA time just to say good morning. That loss had changed him.